podcast is rolling.
Oh.
Oh, boy.
Hi, Bryan.
Hi, Melissa.
Why is the oboeing? What's your oboeing?
Well, because
Boy.
you're playing a track that
Yes.
just has instruments in it.
There was vocals.
Where?
Oh.
Oh, whatever. That sounded like a keyboard
There
making
was
that
definitely
noise.
vocals. Should be very
Totally
obvious.
insane. All right, everybody. You've done it again. You have tuned in, you've downloaded, you've successfully somehow managed to get yourself to this episode of I Already Told You That.
I really, really have.
You've told me this.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Well, you've made it hard as usual to try and decipher what it is you've brought to us this week. Oh my God, Ziggy.
Our kitty cat might be a little loud. She's on the hunt for a bug in the room. Yes, because at the beginning of the podcast, I play a little bit of music for Bryan. He doesn't always know what it's going to be. She's coming to my lap. It's okay. She'll stop in a minute. Where he doesn't know what we're going to talk about until he hears that music. And sometimes, most of the time, he still doesn't know what we're going to talk about when he hears that music. So we're going to...
How would any person in the entire planet
totally know.
hear that?
There's
and
other
say
people
like,
that
oh,
are just like, oh. So you're already telling me you don't know. But anyway. But we're going to talk about music and re-remember somebody
yes,
together. And it's fun because re-remembering is fun.
it is.
So we're
It
going
sure
to
is.
talk about this musician at some point and play some music.
Fantastic. I can't wait. I mean, this...
The next time maybe you hear that song, that little bit of that song, you'll be like, oh, God, yeah, I know that is.
Yeah. That would be... Yeah. We'll all feel like we know exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
Not like now.
Isn't that better, though, to not know what's going on?
Oh, I don't know about that.
I think
You
it's
mean
better
just go
in
through
general.
blindfolded?
I think in general.
Yeah.
Although I say that, but I definitely like knowing what's going on and do not
I was
appreciate.
going to say, out of all people in the world,
know.
you
I'm
would
lying.
probably,
That was
dislike this position where someone's like, here, guess what this is?
But see, that wouldn't happen to me.
That's an impossibility. It'll never happen.
Well, it would with some things, but not this thing. It's the only
So-
thing. It's the only thing I got, Bryan.
Okay.
Let me have it.
Oh, now stop.
Let me have
That's
it.
not true. We all know that's not true.
How are you?
I'm fine. I'm a little,
Stuffied?
it's that time of year.
Spring
it's
is
a
sprung.
beautiful time of the year because all the things are coming to life. But what's that mean for old Bryan? His face turns onto a war zone of itchy eyes, throat scratchiness,
I don't know why, but when you
nose
said that,
runniness.
I was thinking of Friday Night Lights. the opposite of that. Clear eyes.
Yeah, no.
Hearts, whatever you said.
Red eyes,
Yes.
stuffed up heart.
Oh.
Yeah. But other than that, it's great. So, yeah, I, have an itchy face, but I'm happy to see all the leaves and flowers and things come back to life.
And
so
your
that's
tongue
nice.
isn't swollen. You're able to speak.
I'm
so-
able to speak for now.
Yes.
Soon, I'm sure it'll just be a big, lump in my mouth.
Great.
How are you?
No, I'm doing good. I was thinking today was going to be a much sunnier day.
Yeah.
And whenever I have that anticipation, unfortunately, I wreck it. But I love this time of year. Mm-hmm. I like to plant things. I'm trying not to plant things too early, but I've already begun. And yeah, I just like being outside. And so I'm really happy that that's going to happen more. And we'll get to be warm.
So yesterday we were perusing around and you were flipping through your phone and you noticed that you got some messages
Yes.
from a potential sponsor.
Yes, I did.
Now, we've had this opportunity before.
Oh, so many times. Like, there's a lot of people trying to be sponsored. We say no a lot of the time.
What was the last one? Oh, Shave My Balls.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
Smooth My Balls.
Smooth My Balls. That was a while ago.
That was our first sponsor. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we've been reached out by another sponsor.
Yes. I'll read it to you.
Please do.
This is a message that we received about 4 days ago. And understand that I know that this is a mass response or
No,
or
it is
it is
Melissa.
not individualized for
Now
me.
wait a second. I just want to say.
Uh-huh.
I was thinking about this earlier. Not everybody gets this particular solicitation, so they know their audience.
Yeah, I will say most of the time it's just like half naked people
Right.
and
Smooth
saying
my
things
balls.
like, "No, that was actually fun." Most of the time, unfortunately, it's some kind of like, like thing where they're trying to get you to go
That's
look
right.
at pornography or
Pay money.
Pay money. So I feel like a little better when they actually do their homework. And this one says, "Hello there. We believe your passion for Gothic fashion aligns perfectly with our brand. And we would like to work with you in exchange for free products.
Hey,
if you're
now.
interested, message the main account, the Goth Society."
Ooh.
And then I was like, and of course, I was very curious about the Goth Society. So we went to their page. But that one wasn't as exciting as the other one. So that one... The funny thing is we got
There were
another,
two.
but there was
There
two.
were two
But they
solicitations.
have the exact same message.
Could they
but
be
they have
related?
different accounts. And I think I prefer the Rock Dark Dream one. Because there's a series of photos, and we're going to put this, don't worry, you're going to see it, of photos. And underneath them, I really appreciate the captions. I'll read you some. This one is a woman like holding her face with very long nails, and it says, "Delved into the deep of the unknown."
Ooh,
I know,
well,
that was
that's
pretty-
very dark, yeah.
But then there's some better ones. This one is a woman up close and personal with someone's knee, and on their knee it says "spicy," and it says, "Your truths are worse than your lies." I like that one.
Like you tattooed spicy on your knee.
I got to find that garden one. Here's another one. This one is someone looking at their own reflection, and it says,
Ooh.
"Some ghosts are so quiet you would hardly know they were there." And I really appreciate
It is
that one.
true. I mean, if you're going to be a ghost, you have the choice to be like scary, like woo, or you could be very quiet.
You do. And
What are you gonna? What more scaring are you gonna be able to do by making all that noise and rattling chains and being like that, or sneaking up quietly and giving somebody a quick boo? The classic ghost boo.
I really, really, really appreciate it. I'm trying to find the one with those I read to you last. I just have to find this last one, and then I'm gonna go back. And I just want to say that I am not making fun of you.
Oh,
not
no.
you, Bryan.
Me?
No, but
Oh,
I
good.
do think it's very funny. I was a goth person as a young person.
Yes,
so
you were.
They weren't hitting the wrong
So
area.
would you have bought some of these products had they been available?
I don't think I want to speak to
during
that.
your time. Were there, so when we're talking goth products that you were looking for, what items did you go after?
Oh, it would just be like, I mean,
There was
really-
I think we discussed at one point
Fishnets, perhaps?
how you would create a arm
With
covering
fishnets, yeah.
with fishnets. So that was kind of a more do it yourself project.
Yes.
You weren't going to a company seeking that product.
No, I mean the only thing I think I went to like a store to get was like a monkey boot, which was like
A monkey
it
boot.
was just the name of the boot. It was like a version of a combat boot that was cooler. It had a little more of a
okay.
height to it.
Oh, okay.
So I found the one I want. My last quote from
right.
or the person.
From the Goth Society.
the
Let's
Goth
make sure we
Society.
know who this is.
This is a picture with a woman who has two eyes on her hands,
Ooh.
which is very intriguing actually, and a piece of paper, and it says, "I am a forest and a night of dark trees. But he who is not afraid of my darkness will find banks full of roses under my cypresses."
What does that mean?
I like that one.
That is poetry.
Yeah.
Right
So
there.
thanks, Goth Society, but I don't really wear jewelry. In closing, I don't wear jewelry.
Is that all it is? It's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
like
it's-
nails
yeah,
and
it's-
stuff?
No, that they're just using like, models and stuff to sell the jewelry. But I don't wear jewelry. So good luck. Find another old goth.
Yeah. Hope you guys have lots of spider
They're
rings.
doing just fine.
Yeah.
They're doing fine.
Ankh necklaces.
But yeah. So we're special, Bryan.
Thank you, Goth Society.
Yes.
So if you're a goth person, then
No, you're fine.
getting
If
a
you're
signal.
a goth person, what were you saying?
I'm just gonna say go buy some goth stuff from the Goth Society.
Yeah,
Jeez.
go do it.
Free
So,
advertisement
I
for
think
them.
we need to get back into what
Oh.
we're here to do.
Are we gonna listen to goth music?
No, yeah.
Oh,
I just
they're
wanna
not too far
ask-
off.
Well, it does happen sometimes. So, Bryan,
Yes.
do you have any idea from that song that you heard in the beginning of the podcast who we're talking about
Which
today?
supposedly had singing, but it all sounded like keyboards
you
to
know.
me.
I think
it's
you're just
100 years
playing
ago now.
with me.
So it was definitely some kind of like 80s sounding electronic keyboard driven synth music. And we already did Bryan Eno, so it can't be him.
No.
And we haven't, we did listen to Europe. We thought it was Europe, but it ended up being Survivor.
I don't think we're talking about them.
Okay, so we can scratch them off the list. I'm going to say, go ahead and tell me, Melissa.
Really? You don't know? I thought
Is
you
it
know.
Air
I can
Supply?
just do it. Okay. Really? The funny thing is, you're right. I could have picked other songs and it would have been very, very obvious. But I wanted to talk about Peter Gabriel.
Oh.
So we're getting into some Peter Gabriel. And that song you heard is from my favorite album by Peter Gabriel. But we're going to get into that in a minute. I wanted to cover him forever.
Yes.
Because he's hugely important. And as this podcast, anyone who listens to it will realize, is pretty much like basically what I liked. And in my growing up, this was huge.
Yeah.
This was like
top on the
this
list.
is a really big part of like musical foundation for me.
For sure.
And for a lot of people. Like it definitely was like, you know how you've said that Paul Simon's like Graceland was your like gateway to other types of music.
Ooh, I don't know if I would.
But a lot of people have said that. Yeah. I mean, I think that happens for a lot of people. For me, it was Peter Gabriel.
Yeah.
He introduced me to world music. He introduced me to
Right.
just different sounding things. And also, I mean, he just, like I said, all around super important. And I've been wanting to cover him for a while, but I keep getting intimidated by it because it's a lot.
Yeah.
But then once again, like we've had, because we know we're married people outside of this podcast. And there's so many times I'll say something to you like, his soundtrack to Passion of the Christ. And you're like, what? And I'm like, you never listened to that? So like, I was going to do just that. And then I was like, no. And then I was like, I was just going to do my favorite record. And then I was like, I don't think it'll make any sense if we don't get a little into the whole part of things. So
The whole part of things.
Okay. He once said that. It was really gracious.
Yeah.
No, okay. So we're going to talk about Peter Gabriel.
Okay.
We're not going to really talk about Genesis very much.
I was going to ask.
But the Genesis
if you will.
of his musical career
Yeah.
was obviously that he was in the band Genesis from 1967 to 1975.
Oh, okay.
We're covering after that.
Okay. So Genesis is in his rear view mirror.
Yes, he was the singer in Genesis. He, I think from what I read on Wikipedia about him leaving, because I never really read that much about that, because I was always I was not sad about it. I was always very into, there's a few Genesis songs I like.
Peace out, Genesis.
It's going to sound really weird. And of course, any die-hard Genesis fans that are listening are not going to agree with me, but I kind of preferred the later Genesis.
Really? The Sons,
I know.
Peter Gabriel Genesis?
I know. I like a couple songs with him in Genesis, but I like Peter Gabriel solo much more.
Okay.
Than I liked that particular thing.
Yeah.
There's a few songs, of course, I like on Lambs of Broadway and all that. It's good. But let's get into it. So right after that, he took a break in 75 to be with his family, and he started working on music. When he was young, he was in a series of bands. That's how he met the people from Genesis. It was in school.
Okay.
But my favorite little note that I did write down from Wikipedia was his first band. He was a drummer and singer, and it was a jazz. It was like a trad jazz, traditional jazz. You know what I'm talking about? How'd they call that?
Trad jazz.
I didn't know that. I thought it was funny. And the band was called the Millrods or the M Lords.
Oh, we're the M Lords. We're a trad jazz band.
I know. I think that's hysterical. But anyway, he wanted to take time to be with his family and to just, I don't think he was enjoying, I'm not going to speak for Peter Gabriel, but he wasn't as into what he was doing with Genesis anymore. I don't think it was getting to be, he was very creative, and I don't think it was
going the way he
to
was.
him.
Yeah.
So he wanted to do something else. So he started writing songs and working with people. And he has the first 4 records of his are all titled Peter Gabriel. Like, so
They
there's
have
no
the title.
there's
Peter
no
Gabriel.
title. So in the popular fan culture, we have different names for each record depending on the artwork.
Oh.
So the first record we're going to talk about came out in 1977, and it's called One, but not really. or car, because he's in a car. And you can see his face kind of like behind this kind of like rainy kind of, and what I've learned about it is it's a black and white photo that they then colored.
Okay.
It has that neat effect. But the whole thing with him that it's very hard to encapsulate is that these records to me, like the first one, I'm going to say honestly is not my favorite. But you can hear it. The thing that I wanted to do, and the reason I wanted to start with the first record and go through these, is that you were going to hear how it develops.
Sure. Okay.
And definitely on this first one, it was he was producing with Bob Ezrin, who is then they recorded in Canada, and it's on Charisma Records, which is the same record label that Sinead O'Connor was on.
Okay.
Your face looks confused. Right?
I'm heavily concentrating, trying to just keep track of the fact that first the record. See, you can see why a simple human being like me would be confused if you go to a record store and you're like, "Gosh, which one should I get?" Oh, get the one called Peter Gabriel, and there's 4 of them. Called that.
Yeah. But they all look very different. And also, I think what he was saying is he wanted it to be kind of like a magazine that came out every year. So it has the exact same font.
Yes.
And like even kind of in the same place, I think.
Up in the upper left corner.
And it's a different image of him.
Yes.
So I think it's
I can
kind of
picture
funny
these
that.
records.
Yes, yes. Because they're in our house.
What?
You've seen them. Oh my God. Oh my God. But we're going to start with this first record, and you're going to notice somebody that's in this. So the additional musicians on this record, Robert Fripp, who was in King Crimson.
Yeah.
And bass is Tony Levine, who still plays with him right now. I saw, he says this crazy thing with his fingers in the bass.
Yeah.
He's very amazing bass player.
Oh, where he like attaches little mallets to them or something?
I don't know if he's attaching mallets, but it's something insane that I've seen and is really awesome. But anyway, they were session musicians on this, and then it's going to became their. I think it was because they played with him live first, but he probably knew them because Kim Crimson, not
Kim Kimson.
Robert Fripp at least, not Tony Levine because he was not in that.
Yeah.
But on the tour for this record, I'll talk about this in a minute. See, I'm getting all
verklumped.
It's because I've not.
You're
finished my
excited.
Coffee, and I'm excited.
You're excited.
And whenever I'm doing somebody like this that I feel a tremendous amount of pressure about, I do get like. So I need to release.
No pressure.
I need to breathe into it because it's just important.
It is, and it's more excitement to bring this into clarity for a person like me.
We
and
should
our listeners.
Listen maybe to some music. But the one thing I want to say before we listen to this is I'm not going to play the huge hits.
Okay.
The one song off this record that was huge and definitely launched his career as a solo artist was Salisbury Hill.
Okay.
Came off this record, which is interesting because when you hear the rest of the record, it's so different from that.
Yep.
It's much more progressive rock, and it's not going to sound like that. So it's very different. So this first song is called Moribund, the Burgermeister.
Okay.
He does speak German as well, and he has records that he puts out, full records in German. So I have a feeling that's probably German, and I'm not saying it correctly.
Burgermeister is.
I know the
German.
Burgermeister is German, but
Moribund.
I don't know. Moribund. Okay, let's listen to a little bit of it.
Caught the chaos in the market square. I don't know what, I don't know why, but something's wrong down there. Their bodies twisting and turning in 1,000 ways. The eyes are rolling round and round to a distant gaze. I look at that crowd, some are turning up in the air, some drowning in a tunnel of blood.
Goodness.
It's big.
Wow.
Isn't it? It feels very Wall to me.
Huh. Interesting.
The way he's singing,
Yeah.
like how Pink sings
Yeah.
in it, which is interesting because there will be a crossover to that in a little bit. But
Interesting.
Not yet. I hear that strongly, but that's also because probably at that particular point in time, I would have been very aware of that. So
Very aware of the wall. Oh,
yes,
okay.
Yes. But I do like it. It's very theatrical and big and progressive rock.
Yeah, there's a lot of production
What
going
do you
on there.
think?
Well, we heard some like backwards guitar sounding stuff there, and it seemed like it was just going to be him singing there with that thing, and then boom, blew up. And there was definitely some synthesizer action, like, strings going on.
There were. We should hear a little bit more of it.
Yeah, let's do it.
This thing's outrageous. I tell you on the level.
I just wanted you to hear that part so you could hear how, like,
Wacky.
yes. How wacky it's getting.
Yeah, it's a little wacky.
It's a little wacky. A little wacky. A little different. This one, like I said, is not the record I've spent the most time listening to.
Okay.
But I do enjoy it. You know, it's just not the one I have on heavy rotation.
Right.
And I don't think I'm not going to speak for Peter Gabriel. But what I read about it was that although he was mainly happy with the music, he felt like it was overproduced.
Yeah, I could see how you'd feel that way.
Yeah. So let's hear a little bit more. This song is called Humdrum.
I saw the man at JFK. He took your ticket yesterday. In the humdrum. In the humdrum. I ride tandem with the random. Things don't run the way I planned them. In the humdrum. In the humdrum. Hey, Valentina.
Beautiful. I like, especially after that last song, I wanted you to hear how it can be much more stripped down and beautiful.
Quiet.
I love his voice on that too. Beautiful.
It's very nice. He's got a good singing voice, that guy.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
He's got range.
That's often what's said. Let's listen to a little bit more of Humdrum.
Hard to go. Listen to my heart. Don't need no stethoscope. I seem to me that television. She come to cut me a deep incision in the heart.
Yeah. All right. This is a little more party side of the humdrum.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
I think, well, yeah. I don't know how I feel about this.
The castanets.
I like the way they sound in my ears.
Mm-hmm.
I did write down a little funny note from this. When they went on tour for this album, he asked Robert Fripp and Tony Levine after recording with them to go on tour.
Okay.
And Fripp would occasionally use a pseudonym, not a synonym. He didn't use a synonym. He used a pseudonym.
Pseudonym. Fake
and that
name.
was Dusty Rhodes. And he would use it, and then he sometimes would be playing like backstage, and Peter Gabriel would like announce him as that, like, but not Robert Fripp. Like,
Which Dusty Rhodes is the guitar player for what's his name? He's a guitar player. He's a musician. There's a guy
Yes.
named Dusty Rhodes. Yes.
Who?
For Ozzy Osbourne, I think, or one of those like heavy metal bands.
Well, maybe that, but that's weird. That
Isn't
he wanted
it?
to be known, but yes, he didn't want to be
I'm
known.
pretty sure.
You
Now,
think so?
ladies and gentlemen, you don't tune into this podcast to listen to me bust
No.
out music trivia, so I could be completely wrong.
Hmm.
But I'm pretty sure there is a musician in the world named Dusty Rhodes.
Well, this is what we'll do. We'll
Okay.
leave that in there, and if you're wrong, right here will be the correction.
So, as it ends up, Dusty Rhodes is not only not a guitar player for Ozzy Osbourne, he wasn't even a musician at all. He was a professional wrestler, Dusty Rhodes.
At least the Dusty Rhodes you were thinking of. I think Robert Fripp was just making up a name. Let's see. We're going to play one more song off this record, and then we're going to get into some more things. This song is called Slow Burn.
We character actors from a town, Babel, bewildered, burnt out, hardly able to sit astride on the highway cable.
So after that, he was so pleased with the Mr. Frippster that Robert Fripp is going to produce this next album.
Okay.
And the next album we're going to talk about is called, it came out in 1978, and it's called Peter Gabriel.
It's called Peter Gabriel, yeah.
But fans often call it Two, or they call it Scratch, because on the cover, he's got his hands up, and it looks like light coming out of it, like lasers.
Whoa.
It's a great picture. I'll show it to you.
It's called Scratch?
Not really, but that's what people would call it.
But
Because it looks
if
like he's
there's-
scratched. Like
Oh, I gotcha. Okay.
looks like that. Sorry.
I gotcha.
Yeah, I'll give you a little more. But on this record, Robert Fripp coined this technique he used. Maybe you've heard of it. It's called Fripptonics. It's a real thing. It's a tape
believe
delay
it.
system.
Okay.
So that happens. You're going to hear it on the record. I'm going to point it out. There's one song in particular that I have on this that you'll get to hear it. But the first song I'm going to play for you for this record is called On the Air.
Interesting. Pretty much like more or less a rock and roll song, but with some like tinkling of the, those little things that hang down where you go, run your fingers.
Well, that's
down
the progressive rock element of it. Like I said, that's so far, no shade, no tea, no shade.
No tea, no
But
shade.
for me, this stuff didn't really grab me.
Yeah.
I listened to it after, but it wasn't my gateway into
Yeah.
him. Which I would say, if you wanted to know when I first started listening to Peter Gabriel,
I always do.
it was probably just like everybody else. I mean, I didn't know this until I was doing a little research, but in like 2011, at that point, they had said that his video for Sledgehammer is the most played video that's ever been played on MTV.
Wow.
So you couldn't help but hear him.
It's very true.
And I think that wasn't as appealing to me as the song Big Time. I was
Sure.
much more fan of that one than Sledgehammer. I liked Sledgehammer, but I liked that. And then I think, I saw, what's the movie with John Cusack? And he holds up the radio.
Say Anything?
Yeah, that probably pretty sealed the deal. So then I got So, which was that record. And then I went backwards. And when I went backwards,
You found
I
all
got into
this.
some things. Which
Yeah.
we'll get more into when I'm especially a fan of. But I think
Okay.
that's how, because you heard those songs.
Oh, 1,000%.
100%. But like, I think too, though, when you hear that, like, it just was like, oh, this person's interesting. I wonder, they seem kind of like for pop music, this seems kind of strange, but it didn't seem completely alternative.
Right.
So I was like, where does this lie? And what's the story here? And like, I had to find the foundational things going back. And that's when,
You start realizing that
found
this
it.
this guy's got
how important.
more
Yeah.
than what we're seeing.
And sometimes
in
you're just seeing like a little bit of an iceberg. And
Yeah.
you're like, oh, huh. And then for some people, that'd probably be the best part of it, but I don't think it is. So there's always better things, I think. But this next song, Bryan, is called DIY.
Don't tell me what I will do, 'cause I won't. Don't tell me it's me.
All right.
I like the sound of that one.
Sure.
I think that's
Ba-doom,
more
doom, doom,
distinctive,
doom, doom,
more
doom, doom.
interesting. I like the way he's singing,
Yeah.
talking.
There's more. The other ones had this kind of very 70s sounding.
Progressive rock sound.
Yeah. Yeah, but also just like whatever production they were doing at the time. Yeah, it was very kind of 70s fuzzy. This is a little clearer.
Yeah, it was very clear.
More
I like it.
distinctive choices going on there.
Yes, I'm into it. And now the last song off this record, because I'm
This is still
rushing.
Scratch.
This is still number 2, Scratch.
Got it.
This song is called Exposure, and in this song, you will hear Fripptonics.
So what if we take it just a little half aside for a second?
Yes.
You pick these songs for us to play.
Yes.
These are songs
us
you're
to play.
picking. Picked us to play. These are songs you're picking because of a particular sonic quality, or they stuck out to you.
There's the songs that stick out to me.
Yeah.
It's always that way for me.
Okay.
When I'm picking songs for this, unless there's like a specific point I'm trying to make.
Got it.
But I was happy that one of the songs I picked when I went back and read about Friptonics happened to be one where they say you can hear it showcased. So I was like,
Okay.
oh, well, that's convenient.
Yeah.
So there you go. This song is called Exposure.
Nice. Fantastic.
Do you like that?
I do like
I
that.
do like that.
It's interesting. It's like it probably took them a really long time to lay out the tape loops and things like that to get that happening. And nowadays, I'm sure guitar players have a single pedal or 37 pedals
such a
or
bummer.
a computer to just go boop and it does it.
I know sometimes there's things like that one machine you showed me where there's like tape in it.
Yeah. Well, that's
an
what that
effects.
is.
That's that's the machine, right? That's basically it. What was it called?
Oh, golly gee whiz. I mean, that I think is actually from the 70s. Like that was an actual tape loop machine.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it was really cool. So it had the tape inside and it just kind of flopped around inside there. Yeah, it's cool.
Beautiful. We're gonna hear a little bit more of Exposure.
Okay.
I'm gonna expose you to a little bit more of
please.
Exposure. I have to say, this is another confession that'll probably upset a lot of people. I was never a big Robert Fripp fan, but I like what he's doing with that loop. I do like the loops very much.
Yeah.
I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's known for both his guitar playing, but also his like production.
Yeah, I just don't like the talking guitar thing. That when it gets into that, so I'm kind of like I have a hard time with it. But that I like.
Yeah,
I'm into it.
that's cool.
Okay, Brian.
Okay,
The time has come.
all right.
I'm realizing as I'm doing this, you know, like I really just love this record so much. I could have just done it because it's so important to me. This was when I went back in time after I heard some Peter Gabriel songs. Remember, I was like in a record store or something, and I saw the cover for this record. This is number 3.
Okay.
It came out in 1980, and also it's called Melt, and half of his face is melting.
Yeah, definitely know this one.
Definitely got my attention, and I'm very positive this is the first album of his I owned besides So that I mentioned. And I had it on cassette, and I just played it so much. Like it's beautiful, and it's funny because, you know, as you do this, you get to go back and research things, and everyone agrees with me on this one. It is apparently his most critically acclaimed record because that people feel like it's his most artistic, it's his artistic breakthrough album, and I agree. I think that there was like in the first couple records he was kind of figuring out how to go about it, you know, and then I think he really found his footing on this one.
Nice.
It's beautiful. And he hired Phil Collins and Jerry Murata to play drums on this record. So Phil, I didn't realize that either. That because I'm always like, this drums sound like Phil Collins because they are. They were on good terms. Like
They're still buddies.
Yeah, He played in the record. He gave them one simple demand though. This is what I was mentioning to you yesterday.
Okay.
He said, artists given complete freedom die a horrible death. So when you tell them they can't do something, they tend to get creative. So he said to them, you can't use cymbals.
What?
And
He
as
told
a drummer,
Phil Collins no
what
cymbals.
would you feel, Brian?
It wouldn't bother me. No, I'm serious. Like I too enjoy kind of like a challenge like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm happy. I'm excited to hear what they did with
and
it.
apparently Phil Collins was not that bothered by that, but the other guy Jerry was like not happy.
Yeah, I can
about
imagine
it.
Phil Collins wouldn't care. He's, he is known for his do 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 do
Well,
do 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 do.
That's the other thing, Brian. That happened on this record. So that sound, he had not come out with his solo album yet. This is before it. And this was the first album to use the gated reverb effect that became popular in The Air Tonight. And also, PIL said that this was the influence for Flowers of Romance, for the drums that way you're talking about.
Really?
Yes.
Look at this full circleness.
No. I was so excited when I saw that.
So gated reverb. Do we need to get into that?
Sure, you can explain it.
A gate just means that they do this on drums because drums can resonate too much. Like when you hit a drum and go boom, for a long time. And there was a problem in that time, especially because they were putting microphones on all of the drums, and they didn't want the microphone on the tom-tom to pick up the snare drum. So when you gate it, you're closing the microphone off. So it only opens up long enough to capture that one little hit exactly, and then close it again. So gating did exactly that. Yeah, like zhunk, they could really control the amount of time that you heard the drum, and then you add reverb to that, so you catch that little moment and then reverb that little sound.
And the 1980s was born.
That's right.
And the person who produced this record is Steve Lillywhite.
Okay, big time.
And it's got 2 hearts for the whole album. Yes,
Come on now.
I'm pretty much going to play
blanketed with 2 hearts.
almost this whole record, so we should just get into it right now. This
Okay.
is the first song, and it definitely has the gated reverb drums. You'll get to hear it. It's called Intruder.
I know something about
Yes. Totally different. Like, think about the last 2 records you just heard, and then
Yeah.
this. It's
Yeah.
like so starkly different.
Yeah.
And also, I felt like every time I hear this record, this is another thing I was going to do once for this when I, like early on, remember how I had done a whole episode of podcast on our whole episode once on Minor Threat and Pat Benatar?
Yes.
I was going to do this in The Hurting. Because
interesting.
The Hurting is so influenced by this record. And I went back and read about Tears for Fears' record, The Hurting, which is what I'm referring to. It's their first album, and I hear a lot of Peter Gabriel in it. And they said, in fact, that was
They
definitely
were
a huge
highly
influence.
influenced.
And that's fine. We're all influenced. And they did a totally different thing with it. But a lot of the all those kind of noises that Suffer the Children.
Yeah, right.
Oh my gosh. So there. Like
Yes.
the drums, everything. Like, it's so
How
much
about
of a
that?
thing. Yeah. But let's listen to a little bit more. This is my first heart of the podcast. This song is called No Self-Control.
gotta get some food. I'm so hungry all the time. I don't know how to stop. I don't know how to stop. Gotta get some sleep. I'm so nervous in the night. And I don't know how to stop. I don't know how to stop.
So his challenge for the drummers on that one was, I don't want you to play drums at all.
No. There's percussion.
There is. It's good. I
Also, you
love a
notice
marimba.
The background vocal on that high voice you're hearing, that's Kate Bush.
Oh, the now famous Kate Bush.
She was already famous. Oh my God.
But I was thinking back on the no cymbals thing. I mean, they do cause a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Because they're noisy as hell and they fill up so much space in a recording. When you're trying to do something like this that has lots of layers and sounds and stuff in it, cymbals can really get in the way of all that. So I can see why he would say that.
Well, I also do think it's what he was doing was that creativity thing. I really think that was his guiding principle to that. I don't think it was just because he didn't like the way cymbals sounded.
You don't think?
I mean, what I read said that he
Yeah.
definitely wanted to give them a constriction.
That's cool.
Yeah, and
I
it
like
makes
it.
it also makes a certain sound. You
For
know?
sure.
Let's learn a little bit more of No Self Control.
How to stop? I don't know how to stop. There are always hidden silences waiting behind the chair. They come out when the coast is clear. They eat anything that moves. I go shaky at the knees. Lights go.
So there's drums in that.
Yeah, that's Collins there because he's hitting on those little teeny,
Little
weird
teeny guys?
like roto drums that he liked to play.
Rototoms.
Yep. Maybe not. Maybe something else.
Oh, this record. It's just so
You're losing it.
No, it's just so great. It's such a beautiful thing. I just think it's great. I also want to say that in 1980, Peter Gabriel, along with some others, started the WOMAD Festival, which is like an international arts festival. He's always been very passionate about world music, and he did this so that he could bring artists to the stage that maybe other people wouldn't get to see. And,
Okay.
and it's traveled since then. It travels around to other countries. It's just really cool, and it's definitely where he's going to pull later when he has his studio and his record label for Real World. He starts putting those artists out on Real World Records, and that's where I heard a lot of that world music as well. But that's just happening right then is when because he's really getting into that stuff, and he set up a festival. So I think that's very cool, and you should know that. This song, Bryan, is called "I Don't Remember."
I got no means to show identification. I got no paper show you what I am. You'll have to take me just the way that you find me. What's gone is gone and I do not give a damn. Empty stomach.
Another PIL reference there.
What?
He does the.
I also think there's a lot of theatricalness, much like Bowie does, and I love that he's taking on a character. I think he does that a lot.
Yeah.
Where he's doing a certain thing. You know, it's like I am this person,
Yeah.
and I like it very much. I appreciate the drama that is occurring.
Indeed.
And just, I wanted to say too, the other reason I wanted to do this is at first I thought I would get pushback from you because you'd be like, I know who Peter Gabriel is. I'm like, I know you know who he is. But I really don't think you listen to a lot of the early stuff.
No. Well, I certainly haven't listened to the whole records and gotten into deep cuts.
Yeah. And I just feel like it's worth it to really appreciate. It's worth it, Bryan.
But I
I'm
do
being
know who he
very
is.
Serious.
I
I
mean,
know, I
come
was going
on.
to say, of course.
But I
you know.
will also say I didn't know he wasn't in Genesis for a long time. I probably thought it was all Genesis, or didn't even know that he was in Genesis at all, and thought he was just Peter Gabriel. Knew none of these things, but now it's a little clearer in my mind.
That's what we're here for.
Yep.
Let's hear a little bit. And speaking of that, let's listen to a little bit more of I Don't Remember.
Empty head, I got empty heart and empty bed. I don't remember. I don't remember. I don't remember. I don't recall. I got no memory of anything at all. I don't remember. I don't recall. I got no memory of anything at all.
As I've said many times, Bryan, I like it when people lose it. And I feel like he's losing it on that song. And I love it. He's just kind of
Yeah.
frustrated. He's singing frustration.
Well, if you don't remember, it's frustrating.
But I don't know why I still like it because you think I wouldn't want to listen to somebody who's frustrated, but I am here for it.
Well, that one got some big radio play. I mean, I know that
know
one
that one.
was
You've heard
for
that
sure.
one.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Gosh, yeah. Goodness, yes. Yes, of course.
Good. Well, I think it was a single. This next one, big old heart. It's probably one of my favorite songs on this record. It's called Family Snapshot. And when I used to hear this song, I always thought it was based totally on JFK's assassination. And when I did some reading this time, I found out that it was actually, it does have something that he does put that in there, but really it was inspired by by a book by this gentleman named Arthur Bremer, who attempted to assassinate George Wallace, who was a politician who
guy.
but he supported, racial segregation.
Yes.
But in 1972, he tried to kill him, and then he wrote a book about it.
The guy wrote a book about it?
Yes.
Oh.
It's called It's called The Assassin's Diary. And so this is what this song is based on, but also he weaves in the Dallas stuff as well.
Interesting.
But it's from his perspective, because the whole thing with this guy, and you'll hear it in the lyrics are just amazing, is that a lot of the time, unfortunately, the people that did these things back in the day was for fame and for notoriety and their hunger for that. And he planned it in such a way that he wanted it to be live, like happening, where it was happening on the U.S. news, like at the prime time where that could happen, and in Europe.
Interesting.
So he had to think of exactly when that would be. Anyway, George Wallace survived, but I'm pretty sure he didn't die.
No, he was not assassinated, no.
But let's listen to Family Snapshot.
The streets are lined with camera crews. Everywhere he goes is news. Today is different. Today is not the same. Today I'll make the action. Take snapshot into the light. Snapshot into...
Okay.
See, the
Pretty
thing
somber.
I know, but the thing that's so brilliant about the song, we're gonna obviously go back up in just a minute, is that it was one of the first times I realized, like I deeply realized, I guess, that a song could really tell a story, and that it could be much more like it's like a whole play happening in front of you. So we'll hear a little bit more of it so you can hear what I'm talking about. More of Family Snapshot.
I'm shooting into the light. 4 miles down, the cavalcade moves on, driving into the sun. If I worked it out right, they won't see me or the gun. 2 miles to go, they're clearing the road, and the cheering has really begun.
Yeah, at face value, it seems like he's definitely talking about the Kennedy assassination.
Well, especially because we were like, this came out in 1980. Of course, we're going to think of that.
Yeah.
Not that it was close to it, but it's what I would have thought about. But the thing, it builds up so beautifully, and it's so slow at first, but then it's going to get into this cacophony, which is this section that I'm about to play you, that I have a big old heart next to a section.
Oh my gosh.
I will wake up your empty shells. Peak time viewing, blown in a flash as I burn into your memory cells. 'Cause I'm alive. They're coming round the corner with the bikers at the front. I'm wiping the sweat from my eyes. It's a matter of time, a matter of will.
Some big cowbell action in there.
Everything.
Clunk, clunk,
I just
clunk.
love it. It's like this insanely beautiful piece. And the next part he says, like, I wasn't going to play a fourth part, but I really want to. He sings, I don't really hate you. We were meant to be together, you and me. Like basically something like to that effect.
Weird.
I'm misquoting it slightly, but it's just this idea that we're cyclical, that we're meant for each other. Like I need the fame, you need to die, or something like that. Like kind
Wow.
of like that idea of like, I don't know, it's beautiful. Maybe I'm not. Just for a second.
He's not the one I've got in mind. There is a man of the hour, standing in the ability. I don't really hate you. I don't care what you do. We were made for each other, me and you. I wanna be somebody
I Will Take You.
Drama.
Beautiful. I didn't like drama when I was young. I was a really straightforward child. Isn't it beautiful, though? Not to push you into saying it's beautiful, but do you like
I mean,
that
it's a big production, for sure. There was some saxophone playing.
This is pre-Hamilton. Like, it was a big deal.
You're right.
It was a really big deal to me.
Very pre-Hamilton.
And then we're going to get into something very different. This song, that's what's so nice, is this record is very cohesive, but it gets to really experiment with a lot of different things. This song is called And Through the Wire, which is much more of a typical rock song, but I love it.
And through the wire, I hear your voice. And through the wire, I touch the power. And through the wire, I see your face.
And we're still on the no cymbals rule?
That's
Are we
not-
still in it?
Yeah.
This was the, okay. Just
you hear
trying
cymbals?
to remember that. Well, it was a tambourine.
that
It
is a
wasn't
tambourine.
cymbals,
Not a
but they're like
cymbal.
teeny tiny little cymbals.
So when I hear that song, I've always it was always kind of nagging me, what bugged me about it. It is not like a bad thing, but I was like, it reminds me of something, and I was like, it reminds me of the Replacements. Can't hardly wait, like really slowed down.
Interesting.
And then I read that Paul Weller from the Jam played guitar on this, which makes a little more sense for me to hear that. So I was like, oh, okay.
That is interesting. But what would that connection be to the Replacements?
Just an influence on the Replacements.
Yeah.
Like it was like, oh, that's interesting. And
That
it's
is kinda
And it's
interesting.
not like your Fripp kind of guitar playing.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, it totally reminds me of like a dirgier, can't hardly wait.
later
Isn't that weird?
Replacements.
I totally
That is
hear it.
weird.
Did you
now
hear
that
it?
you mention it, I hear it.
Did you hear it?
I hear it.
I hear it.
Did you hear it?
I heard it.
Oh my God.
Really heard it. Okay. This, I said I wasn't going to play any singles, but I felt like, because I'm talking about my favorite of his albums, that it is okay for me to play one single that was popular, very popular, from this record, because then it tells you like, oh my God, it's even better. That was on that record? Like, yes, it was. So the single I'm talking about, Bryan, is Games Without Frontiers.
Hans plays with Lottie, Lottie plays with Jane, Jane plays with Willie, Willie is happy again. Suki plays with Leo, Sasha plays with Brit, Adolf builds a bonfire, Enrico plays with it. Whistling tunes, we hide in the dunes by the seaside.
Just about going out and having a good time with your pals.
And Kate Bush is singing on that one as well.
Nice.
Background. Lovely. Don't you
Great.
think so?
Oh my God, it's the best.
I really do think so. So another one, this is like another big heart. This one's called Lead a Normal Life. Mm-hmm. And it's super quiet and beautiful and moody. All the things I like about a song. I originally thought when I used to listen to it, I didn't totally know what it was about, but it does sound like someone might be in a mental hospital. But I don't know if it's a character he's taking on or something, because they're talking about here you can't use knives. You can only use forks. So like, you know what I mean? Like that kind of insinuates some kind of mental facility
Okay.
and needing to lead a normal life.
I
But
see.
Let's listen to it and see. I'm only making an assumption.
It's nice here with a view of the trees, eating with a spoon, they don't give you knives. Expect you watch those trees blowing in the breeze. We want to see you lead a normal life.
That keyboard. So I misspoke. It was spoon, not a fork. Because a fork could still hurt you too.
I was going to say, yeah, I think your speculation is probably right on there.
I think so.
Talking about being in some sort of institution where they don't allow you sharp things.
They don't. They do not allow you some sharp things. But
No.
I think it's very, very lovely as a song. And as a moody teenager, I was pretty into it. I'm going to play one last song from this record. And this song is one of his most popular songs. It is called Biko, and it's inspired by the death of South African anti-apartheid activist Steve Biko while he was in police custody in September 12th, 1977. And the beginning of the song, it's bookended with people singing, and it's from his funeral. And it's really touching and beautiful. Whenever he plays this live, I mean, it's just gorgeous. And it definitely got him really into activism and doing good work and human rights. And definitely made me aware of Amnesty International and different things like that, because he was a part of those things so much. And it's beautiful. So let's listen to a little bit of Biko.
77 Port Elizabeth weather fine. It was business as usual in police room 619. Oh, because oh,
Whoa.
You heard that? Chun-chun.
Yep.
Did you like the chun-chun?
Yeah, it was kind of like an electronic drum sound thing. But yeah, that's cool. It's a very kind of anthemic.
Have you heard it before? Do you remember hearing it?
Yes, I have heard that song
I
before.
think also what's so powerful about it is it's a very tragic thing he's talking about, that making such beautiful music that's touching and makes you kind of, much like New Year's Day does with U2, you get pulled into something, you're part of it, you have more of an understanding than you would in your regular life.
Yeah.
And it's still beautiful, you know. That's a hard line to walk. So let's listen to a little bit more of Biko. I'm sure, like when I saw him, he usually will close out his concerts with that song. That's usually what I have seen. This next record, Bryan, we're going to talk about one more, and then we're going to get into some soundtracks. This is number 4. It came out in 1982, and they call it Security because on the front of it has this person kind of like in a mask looking kind of intimidating.
Yeah.
It was produced by David Lord, who also was the engineer, and Peter Gabriel. So this is the first time he's getting credit as a producer. And the thing that you will find interesting about it is it was recorded at his home, and the album was an early example of digital recording because he had been mixed on a Sony PCM 1610 digital 2-track.
Oh.
And it was the first 2 weeks of recording. He actually used a mobile recording studio that was called Mobile One. Have you heard of this?
No.
It was London based, and it was a recording truck that would offer like 46 track recording.
It's
And
probably
so
from
it
the
was
BBC, I imagine.
Parked out in front of his house.
Oh my
That's how
God.
he did it. So
Jeez.
I like this record very much too. And this first song you're going to hear is called The Rhythm of the Heat, and it's based on Carl Jung's experience while observing a group of African drummers. So I didn't know that. I've always been curious about the meaning of that song, so that's something I learned. Here we go, Rhythm of the Heat.
Looking out the window, I see the red dust clear. High up on the red rock stands the shadow with the spear.
Goodness.
Yes. It's a good way to start a record, though.
It is.
Don't be all like, I'm just going to be really subtle about this. It's going to be really quiet. At some point, I'm going to
I mean, it was a little bit quiet.
No, it is.
And there was some
oh,
big...
The thing, though, is what do you think this song's going to do eventually, Brian? Do you think it's going to stay quiet?
Yeah, it's going to just get even quieter.
What is called the rhythm of the heat. So I think some drumming might occur, especially since it's based on African drumming. Let's hear it.
The rhythm is around me. The rhythm has control. The rhythm is inside me. The rhythm has my soul.
Well, there you go. They busted it out.
They're definitely busting it out. Beautiful.
So you imagine these people are inside of his house recording these drums, and there's this big truck outside that's capturing it all.
Yeah, I guess
Nice.
that's how we go.
That's cool.
I mean, the truck was only there for the first 2 weeks, which is confusing to me.
Well, you can get a lot done in 2 weeks.
But I
Put
don't
your
think it
mind
was
to
just
it.
recorded in 2 weeks. So there had to be. Maybe that was just until he got the rest of the digital setup that he was doing with the 2-track.
Well, and imagine there's a lot of drummers there, so you need 46 tracks to capture all that business.
I know. I need to look up how many different people played drums on it. But maybe it was just 2 people or 3 people. He was a
Yeah.
drummer, you know.
Well, that's true.
But I definitely think there's other people playing as well.
Yeah, it's cool.
This song has a big old heart on it. This is called San Jacinto, and it is gorgeous. Why don't you have a
Okay.
listen?
Thick cloud, steam rising, hissing stone and sweat launch fire. Around me, buffalo road.
Yeah, that's cool.
It is cool.
Kinky clanky.
It is clinky clanky. There's a bit of clicky clanky.
Now, I noticed on that one you said it had a big old heart.
Yes.
And so you've adjusted the heart system, it seems, a little bit.
No, I guess when I have a heart on for something.
It's a big old one.
Yeah, I'm just trying to really emphasize how I feel about it, which is there's a few of his songs I would say, like, I could probably at the end tell you which ones. There'd be like 3 that like
Could be 4 or 5
deeply
hearters.
impacted my life.
Yeah.
And this is one.
Okay.
Love this song so much. It's beautiful. It's 6 minutes and 34 seconds.
Okay.
So we're going to listen to
Just
a bit
a
more.
shorty.
So you can get a little more into it. You'll understand what the big heart's all about.
All right.
But do I ever say little heart? No. I don't
No.
say that. So it pretty much is
Well, it
just
used to be
everything's
single
hearts.
heart, 2 heart, 3 heart, 4 heart.
I have that too.
Now big old heart.
I know. Well, if there's one thing I'm known for, it's consistency.
Oh.
So
But this is why we love you, Melissa.
Yeah,
Because you keep us on our
yeah,
toes.
yeah. I don't think everyone knows me. You, yes.
Hey.
Let's listen to a little bit more.
No,
Ready?
enough of that.
Let's get into it.
Most disco, sitting on steakhouse, white man dream. A rattle in the old man's taxi. Look at mountain top, keep climbing up. Way above us, the desert snow, white wind blow.
Dude.
Building up.
Yeah. We're just going to get right into that. Let's do it. The last part of this song I wanted you to hear. San Jacinto.
I hold the line of strength that pulls me through the field. San Jacinto, I hold the line. San Jacinto.
like a real big upbeat song. It's usually where I kind of lay. How about you, Brian? What are the songs that you really, really, really love?
What songs I really, really, really love?
That's a hard one. I'm putting you around this.
Yeah, you are.
That's not nice.
All you got to do is go back and listen to that birthday mix you made for me, and those are all the songs I love. I mean, I liked, again at this time, Neil Young in terms of, we did this. You can go back and listen, everybody, to the Neil Young episode.
Yeah,
but there's a lot of songs I really love in there.
You're reminding me, I wanted to say, we have over 60 episodes now.
That's right. This is 61, I think.
I would go back and, if you haven't heard them, go listen to everything.
Yeah, there's some ones,
This one's going to be long, I think. We'll still have some things to cover. Sorry.
Yeah.
But we're going to get into it.
Okay.
And you can think about that. Just ruminate. Maybe you'll think about
the best song ever.
No, I'll think a song that really is a big harder for you. This is the last song I'm going to play from this record. I'm going to try to do it because I'm realizing
this is number 4.
I'm talking for a really long time.
Yeah.
This song is called "I Have the Touch."
The time I like is a rush hour, 'cause I like the rush, the pushing of the people. I like it all so much. Such a massive motion, do not know where it goes. I move with the movement and I have the touch. I'm waiting for ignition. I'm looking for a spark.
I love that guitar.
That's a
going,
mover. Yeah.
Yeah. This is also a single, but I thought I needed to play this one because it's not as popular as the other singles, and I think it's freaking amazing. This section, Brian, has a heart on the section.
I know,
which
you're doing like hearts and sections now.
I know, because it's reminding me pay attention to this part. You're going to freak out.
Well, and I will say this is a reason to go and listen to the mix because it's really difficult to get an idea of what the song is like. And so a lot of times you'll be like, what'd you think of that? And I'm like, it sucks super bad and I hate it. But then I go and listen to the whole song and I'm like, oh, this is good.
Like it.
Well, it's very difficult when you've never heard something in your entire life to get it out of a 20-second snippet.
Yeah, you can't.
So anyway, this is just
a reminder. If you're new to this podcast, I make a mix for everyone,
Yes.
and you can listen to it on YouTube Music or Spotify under I Already Told You That.
Yep.
And this time, actually, you're going to want to listen to Spotify, which I usually don't prefer, but I couldn't find a lot of the things I needed on YouTube Music.
Yeah.
So I don't even know if I'm going to put that out this time. It'd probably just be on Spotify, which is rare. But also go buy a whole album. And if you're going to buy the third
The Melty
Gabriel
Face one. Face.
Yes. Okay. Or this one, or any of them that you like. But I very love that record. So listen to a bit more of I Have a Touch.
Wanting contact, I'm wanting contact, I'm wanting contact with you. Shake those hands, shake those hands. Give me the thing I understand. Shake those hands, shake those hands.
You're like, why do you have a heart? I know you're thinking it. I know you're thinking it.
Did he say jazz hands?
Shake his hands.
There he goes, jazz hands.
That's exactly what he said. And he's doing it in the video. He's got little jazz hands. No. He's silly. Okay. So the first 4 albums were self-titled, as I said. And actually, no, I'm not going to get into that yet. Put that to the side. We're going to get into this, which is, I've mentioned it to you before, and you've also given me the blank look. So thought it was time to get into a little bit. Maybe we'll watch the movie later. But this is his first soundtrack that he does, and it's for the film Birdie, which came out in 1985. And it's a PG drama. It's his first time working with Daniel Lanois.
Okay.
Producing it. So, that's impactful.
Producer of like U2 and
Emmylou Harris.
Yeah, lots of
many,
things.
many great things. In addition to composing new pieces for the soundtrack, he also used instrumental themes that he'd already had. So you're going to hear, one of the things I'm going to play for you was something that was on 3.
Okay.
But more stripped down. And it became, and other things just became the basis for tracks. But the thing that's interesting about this movie is it's Matthew Modine and Nicolas Cage.
Okay.
And it's basically, you know, a movie where a lot of flashbacks are happening and they serve in Vietnam and it's going over, unfortunately, the trauma of that. But it's a really good movie and it's really strange. And the director, Alan Parker, also directed The Wall.
Oh.
And he directed The Commitments and Angela's Ashes. It's a good director. It's a very kind of, it was like one of those movies when we were kids, we were like River's Edge. It was kind of weird and arty and had a great soundtrack. And it's definitely
called
something.
Birdie, the
Called
movie.
Birdie. Because basically like he's trying to fly away.
Ah, got it.
Yeah. So let's listen to one of the songs. This is going to be a lot more ambient. Yeah, I know you like that.
Get ready.
And it's going to be very sparse, but we're going to listen to a little bit just so you get an idea of some of the soundtrack work, because I am a big fan of this soundtrack. And the whole thing is only like, the whole album is like 34 minutes. So this song is called At Night.
That's cool.
So obviously,
Soundtrack.
yeah, it's atmospheric. This is the one I wanted you to hear. This song is called Close Up, and basically it's from the basis of Family Snapshot, which is the song I told you how much I loved about the assassination thing. So let's listen to Close Up. So you see,
Okay.
it's a quiet record. It's very
Yeah.
ambient. But then, so I am going to talk about So, but I'm not going to play anything off of it because
Okay.
you know every single song. It's
All the
big time.
songs.
It's in your eyes. It's
Big
Sledgehammer. We don't need to do it. But Daniel Lanois produced that record. So he
Okay.
did this work with him for the soundtrack and then they produced it. So we don't really need to get into that. I think everyone is familiar. As I already told you.
If not, tune in.
Yeah.
They'll
and
play.
definitely go listen to it.
Yeah,
So is a great
they're
record.
great songs.
The thing I always heard, and I don't know if this is true, so this is allegedly, but I was always told, I don't know, someone's like, I'm telling you this. No, they didn't. I always tell you this. Whenever people say I was always told, I don't know why I'm saying it, but my
Well, you always
remembering-
tell me that.
Yes. So someone did it to me. It was that his first 4 records were just called Peter Gabriel, and the record company was like, look, you cannot do that. You have to call it something.
Confusing.
And so he was like, so? Like, that was his response to, like,
Oh, come
I
on.
can't. And so, like, so. And so that's what I heard. I don't know if it's true. I want to believe it. So then Bryan, the thing that
Yes.
I'd rather talk about than So, is that in 1989, he did the soundtrack for The Passion of Christ, Last Temptation of Christ,
Last
which was,
Temptation of Christ.
you remember who made that movie?
Who made? No.
Why am I forgetting? It's Coppola.
Coppola.
No, it's not Coppola.
No,
Who's-
it's not
It's the one that did
Coppola.
Natural Born Killers. Who's that one? That one.
That guy is the same guy that did. Oh God.
Why were we forgetting?
Oliver Stone.
Yes, Oliver Stone. Thank you. I knew this, but I'm like losing my mind.
Yeah.
And at first he didn't, what I read about this, and this record, and I've always mentioned this to you, this came out in 1989, and I didn't hear it when it came out right away. I probably heard it in 90, 91, something like that. But this is the first record of his Peter Gabriel album that comes out on Real World Records. And Real World Records was a record company that Peter Gabriel, along with other people, developed. And there's a whole studio associated with it. And it's mostly to promote the world music artists that he had been working with and had been promoting. And that's the way I heard so much world music. And a lot of those people are on this record performing.
Okay.
And it's beautiful. And it was so different than anything I had heard, and that it just really spoke to me. And he made the music kind of under a timeline because the movie had to come out. But then later he revisited the record and worked on it more, and then released it. So it had more. He had more
and stuff
time to get
Yeah.
to it. But we're just going to start getting into it because it's a thing. And when I was young, this was like the record. Like on a Friday night, we would get together and just. This is what we would do. We would listen to this record because it's so beautiful. You would just drive around Florida and you would listen to this great, beautiful music. Super moody, gorgeous. And he was trying to balance a lot of different styles of music when he was doing this. I think that's why it's interesting to me.
Yeah.
So let's listen to the first song I'm going to play you, Bryan. Is called "The Feeling Begins," and it's how the record begins.
Cool.
Did you ever see this movie?
Yeah.
How'd you feel about it?
It's sad
I hear that.
and frightening. Yeah.
It's always funny to me that it was so controversial because, everything Oliver Stone did, there was a lot of controversy.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it. I think it was beautiful. William Dafoe did a great job.
Yeah, he's great.
Let's listen to a bit further in The Feeling Begins so you can hear the build. Because I think, once again, going to build up. And also, it's just the way it's recorded. I hadn't heard anything that sounded like this because it's recorded at Real World, and it just sounds beautiful. It just,
It's got a lot of space.
oh, so much. But we're going to go right to another one. This one's called In Doubt. There's a mood to it. I don't know if you're picking that up.
Yeah, it's good.
I know. It's definitely, I think, being a lover of his music, I just felt like you always heard the interweavings of world music and in his records, but this was just full on getting into it. And it was just gorgeous and such an ensemble of different things happening that, I don't know, like to hear it on a really good stereo laying on the floor, driving in a car really late at night. It'll do.
You were laying on the floor while driving a car?
Either one. Like
Either or.
Like drive around.
Whatever had the better sound system,
Yes,
I imagine.
near an ocean. It works pretty good. But this song is called A Different Drum.
Nice.
And once again, it's going to build up. And I think the build up in this one will help illustrate where it's going. And it's one of the few times you don't hear singing very much on this record, but you will occasionally. Mm-hmm. And I think in this section we're going to hear some. Hopefully I'm right. How you can say honestly, how are you feeling? Does it feel?
No, I do
Okay,
like this.
good,
I
good,
do.
good.
I totally do.
I do think it is I wasn't trying to put you on the spot when I did
Mm-hmm.
that. It's more just that, like, it's definitely a particular thing. And I just think the way it's done for 1989, beautiful sounding. So such a great exploration of that kind of music.
And like you're saying, a big, pretty popular musician bringing sound that wouldn't traditionally be part of big popular music. I
Yeah.
mean, it is a soundtrack, so
Yes.
it's a little bit
But
different.
I
of a
think he thought of
platform.
it as an album too.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it was just supposed to be a soundtrack.
Yeah.
My friends and I, we always took it as a Peter Gabriel album.
Uh-huh.
But I only have 2 more things I'm gonna play, and then we're gonna skedaddle. I think I've gone on for about 2 hours. This song is called Czar.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Do you think it's like Bazaar or just Czar?
I think it's Czar, but it could be a bizarre. You're right. I like your Czar humor. Beautiful. But anyway, definitely, if you're at all interested in that, listen to that record from the beginning to the end, and on a good stereo or some headphones.
Check out the movie. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really. I don't know.
Oddly
I don't know
enough,
if it's aged. I haven't watched it in a really long time.
I remember, so the last time I saw that movie when it originally came out, and then there was a time where I went to this training in the middle of West Virginia. I don't know if you remember this.
Yes.
I went, and I was
It's
bored.
where my family's from.
Okay. And I was there for like 3 days. I was bored one night and wandered into the little town, and there was a one screen cinema. There was a dollar theater, and they were playing Last Temptation of Christ. Oddly, like very strange movie to be playing there. And it was like me and maybe
And it
two other
wasn't
people.
1989 either.
No, this is like 2004.
It's because they're very religious around there. Although I was surprised they would watch that one. Although,
And there was like me and a couple other people in the movie theater, and like a couple rows in front of me was this woman, and she was just openly crying because it's pretty rough towards the
Yes,
end. Like
yes.
when Jesus is being crucified, it's graphic.
no one seems to take that one really lightly in movies.
It's graphic. It's hard to
Are you
watch.
talking about Mel Gibson's movie?
No, I'm talking about
Okay.
this one. I'm
Okay.
talking about Willem Dafoe.
No, they're both bad.
Straight up.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah.
Well, Bryan, I
Yes.
just want to say that the records we didn't cover, I did see Peter Gabriel. I saw him for the album that followed, So, as far as like a classic record. It was called Us, and it came out in 1992. It's a very popular record, great record too. Then there's the next record, it's called Up, that came out in 2002, and then Scratch My Back in 2010, and New Blood in 2011. And he has a new record this year, which is
Wow.
another reason why I wanted to talk, which just came out. It's called I/O. I don't really know how you'd say it, but that's how it's written. But New Blood and Scratch My Back both weren't new material. It was his material done orchestrically, which is how we're going to finish this out.
Okay.
Because
Now, wait a 2nd. You played a song at the very beginning of this whole thing.
Yeah.
What was that?
I
You never played that
No,
song.
I did it because it's on the mix, but I was like, I don't have to play it twice.
Oh.
Yeah, so
tricky.
I dit's twice. That was
Tricky
not
person.
one of us, and that's also on Melt.
Okay.
So
Good. Just
I
want to
being
make sure I got
sneaky.
that.
Yeah. Well, it's also like, why do you always replay it? Like, you don't have to.
Well,
this
because
time.
it's a nice callback.
It
so
is.
You can give it some context. But anyway, on the mix.
Also, I want to say if you are new to this podcast too and you want to contact us, you can contact us through our Gmail account, which is, I already told you that, at gmail.com, or you can write us through the various social networks like Instagram or Facebook, where we also have a page.
If you have very specific products based on the goth lifestyle that you'd like to promote,
That are not jewelry.
please send us some samples. We'll be happy to talk about your products
No.
during our podcast.
Oh, you're so
We give away advertisement for free.
You're the silliest. I'm sorry. Like I said, once again, I'm already apologizing for this podcast. I was a bit shaky. This is a lot. Peter Gabriel is a really big deal.
Yeah.
And he's a big deal because he's touched so many people's musical influences. I mean, he was a steward to me, and also not only a steward, but made good music. You know what I mean? So I am so thankful to hear a lot of the world music I got to hear through New World recordings and records. And it just really, there's not a year that goes by that I don't listen to Peter Gabriel. You know what I mean? Like, especially that Melt record. Mm-hmm. Every year.
Yeah.
Happens.
Yearly rotation.
And if I'm ever feeling lost, of course, I put the Shaking the Tree singles thing on and listen to that as well, because all the singles are amazing and wonderful.
Well, and it's nice to have something that I think everybody knows, or the vast majority of people will have heard some sort of Peter Gabriel, and to delve a little bit deeper into
That's all I'm asking.
some of his stuff.
Because he's really important. He's made great music. He's a great activist. Enjoy it. Go get into it. Now, I'm going to listen to his new record. We need to.
Yeah.
I've heard it's really good.
Hopefully he comes around. We can go see him play.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Yeah. We should.
And so should you. So what are you going to take us out on here, Melissa?
This is San Jacinto again, but this
Okay.
is the orchestral version of it.
Okay.
And this is on New Blood. It came out in 2011. Thanks for sitting this long with me, Bryan. We didn't even get up for bathroom breaks. We're dedicated.
Oh my God, so good. Thanks. You did it again. You listened to I Already Told You That. We'll see you again soon. Going out on some Peter Gabriel.
Rattle in the old man's saxy. Look at mountain top, keep climbing up. Way above us the desert snow, white winged I hold the line of strength that pulls me through the